Hello, everybody, and welcome to Through the Mists, episode 12. We're down one player. Mana could join us today, but she is off getting her new place, so we're very excited for her. Meanwhile, how's everybody else today?
Doing good.
Nice.
Doing
Pretty
good.
good.
Does everybody remember where we left off?
That's such a good question. I'm not sure I do.
All right, well then I'll do the quick recap. So last episode, you had started off and you were fleeing the house that was imploding after the battle between that strange undead-looking person and a ghost. They'd been fighting it out. You ended up helping the ghost to get rid of the fellow, but not before the ghost was vanquished. And then a strange amber stone seemed to have something inside, and so Lilith had cracked that open. About that time, the house started like falling down around you, and so fleeing the house, you watched as it was like kind of imploding into a point of light, but the ground began giving way, and so you fled into the forest and the mists, which took you a while to find your way out of. But once Lilith realized that the strange kind of tarot type card that the like medium or something had given you, she had given you the card that said the broken one. It was a picture of a broken mirror with a man in the reflection who looked like he was screaming. The man had like guided you out of the mist, and you had found yourself in some pretty vast orchards and plant, like some fields of various plants and stuff. Some of the stuff was fresh and good, like it was still growing, but a lot of the fruits and vegetables were going bad. They were rotten, like someone hadn't been out here to take care of them or harvest them. And so you had continued on, realizing that there was something in the distance. There was a black smudge in the sky, and as you came over a hill, you realized it was smoke of some kind rising from a fairly large city. Heading down into the city, everything had been kind of drab, and everyone was dressed in very drab gray colors. The most colorful you saw would be like, some muted browns and such, some tans, but for the most part everything was just kind of, it looked like the world had been re-rendered in black and white. And I believe it was Lyra was the first to realize that even though everyone was kind of glancing at you all, because you get the feeling that the elves among you were kind of catching some glances, but Lyra was really catching glances, and she had realized it was because of her attire was less severely conservative like everyone else was dressed in the area. After some muttering, and I feel like there were some hand gestures at people who were glaring at her, you heard someone arguing, and as you went to investigate, a very large, colorful creature stepped out of the alley and turned to see you. Was very surprised by Twiggy's presence, but Twiggy managed to dive into Lilith's tabard to hide himself. And even though she was unsure of Twiggy, she invited everyone to, go and get some food and maybe have a drink. And so you had followed her to a tavern that was marked simply by a wood carving of a mug hanging outside. And so coming inside and meeting the tavern keeper Gregor, who you got the feeling knew Helvetica, the very large, colorful person. And he had given you drinks. The wine was terrible, and the ale is obviously watered down. Some of the people in really, there weren't very many people, but the people that were in there had given Lyra some glares due to her clothing, and have stood up and left the building. And Helvetica said, Welcome to Peridon, as she obviously could tell the irritation that flits across Lyra's face, that she is also aware that this is an issue. And with that, the three of you and a Lyra guided by me today, what would you like to do?
Drink.
Drink heavily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get the feeling that it would have to be pretty heavy for you to get drunk off of this ale. It's not the best. It's not terrible tasting, but you can tell it's pretty weak. Gregor goes back to cleaning mugs, and you notice every so often he goes into the back and, like, you could tell he just, like, loses some weight as he's, like, squeezing through the stuff back there. And when he comes back out, he gains weight. As he told you, no one buys food and stuff from a skinny bartender, so.
Oh, wow. I want to cut a little bit of my cloak on the bottom and fashion it for our new friend to cover her midriff because she is so worried about her appearance.
Gotcha.
I want to make her look a little finer.
Gotcha.
While we're drinking heavily, so it may or may not look all right.
Why don't you do a I do miss craft checks from 3rd edition. Why don't you do a sleight of hand or dex?
Okay. Let's see here. Let's do sleight of hand.
That's not bad, and you're essentially having to use, because you don't have scissors or any kind of claw shears, so you're essentially having to use like a dagger or some other sharp weapon, and you kind of shear off part of yours and you begin fashioning it. What do you want to, like, sew it together with, or like how is she going to attach it to what she's wearing?
Well, I'm thinking to kind of like poke holes and sort of have like thinner strips that I make into like a ribbon to kind of like corset style, just add the fabric.
Gotcha.
That.
Yeah. It's not great, but it's functional, and with considering you were making out of, part of your tabard, it doesn't look bad. It clashes slightly with her, the coloring of her ensemble as it is, but you can tell she just doesn't care, and she puts it on and she's just like, this is fabulous. Where did you learn to do such things?
I'm just gonna be like, oh, don't worry about it, and look over at Lyra and be like, eh.
Lyra glares at you, glares at Helvetica, like tries to hike up her shirt even more to show more midriff. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I think I'm gonna also drink and just kind of hang out.
Yeah, the ale is definitely not the wine that you wanted, but the leftover wine that he had was vinegar essentially by the time it got served, and so just hanging out, keeping an eye out. Twiggy, what are you doing?
Well, I'm gonna try and not get swatted, so I'm going to, with the position of this table here on this map, so yeah, let's scooch over here. Yeah, there's a window there too, so we're just gonna put ourselves in this corner.
So, like, behind
Yeah.
her?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna go back there and hang out with that mug of beer.
Okay.
And be happy that I got some beer.
Fair enough. As you flit over there, she's definitely a little jumpy about you, and she keeps an eye on you. Go ahead and make an insight check.
Totally Twiggy's strong suit. Inside. Boop.
Nice. So as
Wow.
you flit over there and she kind of keeps an eye on you, she's definitely like keeping up her like welcoming presence, but at the same time she feels very nervous about your presence, and so she keeps like glancing over, and she kind of turns in her seat and adjusts a little bit so she can like keep an eye on you. You've never
Good.
really encountered someone who's this worried about fairies. Like, usually it's the larger fae that get a little more of the bad reputation and stuff for causing tricks. She seems to be more worried that you're going to like try to eat her, from what she
I
said along the way.
Good. I mean, it's good that she is wary, because I am powerful. I am mighty. I have done all of these amazing things in my very long life.
Right?
Yeah. Maybe she knows of me. In which case, we're probably really close to home.
So while all of this is going on, and all of this fashion, this like kind of homemade corset from her tabard, Dizzy, go ahead and make me a perception check.
Okay.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. It's pretty quiet in here, with everyone else having left. There's like one guy in the far booth who's just kind of, it looks like he's either passed out or taking a nap or something. There is a mug nearby him, and an empty plate. But otherwise, everything seems pretty chill. What would you all like to do?
You know, I'd like to ask how far out of town our new friend has made it, and if they know anything about the fog.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I haven't been outside of town since the or since the mist closed off the edge of the city. That was maybe 3 years ago. Kind of hard to keep
wow.
time here sometimes. Like, even there are days that I'm not even sure, like, night has come and become another day. Time seems to act a little weird here, but maybe it's just the constant being surrounded by the mists and the factories and the smog they pump out, and it gets hard to keep track of the days. I would say it was about 3 years ago.
What kind of factories do you have in town?
Oh, they make all sorts of stuff. They refine the oil for, or refine the gas for all of the lamps to remain lit, and they make weapons, and they make gears and different parts for machinery. It's nonstop. The workers work night and day.
We walked past a bunch of orchards. Do you guys get your food from those orchards?
Orchards? We haven't seen the orchards since the Mists moved in. The Mists used to surround the area around Peridon, but now there was some kind of calamity. It's hard to say what it was, but when it happened, things around here changed, and all of the fields that we used to rely on for food, they're gone now. Where did you see one?
Where do you get your food from now? I'm gonna ignore them and just keep asking.
For the most part, it's fish. You'll eat a lot of fish if you're gonna be here long, and a lot of people try to grow small gardens by their homes or on the tops of some of the buildings around here, in alleys, anywhere that we can get any bit of sunshine to allow us to grow. And it's hard. You don't see much of it. That fellow that we passed outside that had the lettuce wraps for sale, those will go for 3 or 4 gold apiece if they can get it.
Wow. And you're saying something about a calamity? What happens during the calamity?
No one knows. The mists used to be much further out. There were houses, there were farmsteads, there were ranches. People growing crops, and there were orchards with fruits. There were ranches that had all sorts of livestock, and now that's all gone.
Wow. Well, we walked here through the mist, and we saw orchards with fruits that were, spoiled and on the ground. They obviously weren't tended to. So they're still there.
Did you see any people?
Did we see any people? I don't recall. No.
I don't think
no
we
one,
did.
not a soul.
To be fair, you didn't check out the farmhouses that you saw, because you had found the city by that point, so you headed down to the city. So you couldn't really say, you didn't see anyone, but you couldn't say that there isn't anyone out there.
Yeah. We didn't pay attention.
That's probably not. That's probably not.
She looks thoughtful for a few moments. Whenever somebody tries to enter the mist to find anything, they either disappear and are never seen again, or they just reappear somewhere else along the border.
It's super odd. Who's in charge in this town?
Oh, there's a committee that gets voted in by the nobles. They're all up in the king's quarter. They don't really do much other than make sure that they get the prime bits of food and sit in their houses, really. They're the ones who are in charge of all of the industry, but it doesn't do us a whole bunch of good.
Alright, Lilith is gonna nod her head and then just awkwardly turn around and kind of walk away.
Go ahead
Without
and
preface.
make a perception check when you do so.
Okay.
Awesome. So as you are, where are you walking to on this here map of ours by
Let's see.
Arknight?
I'm gonna walk over here with my back to everybody,
Okay.
and I'd like to pull out the card and ask the card where we should go. So that's the intention. So I don't want to go too far away, but I definitely want my back to everybody.
So as you're walking this way and you reach in to pull the card out, you do notice that an armored person steps in this way. And with that 22, you notice that there's one there and one there. And
Oh,
there's
man.
a couple on either side as well. You also notice one of those fellows that was in the bar that said something to Lyra about her outfit is walking away. He walks past, essentially over here. You could just see him, even though he left quite a while ago, several minutes ago. He walks past and he looks a little nervous and then scurries away. And this armored person walks in and kind of looks around and is pulling off some mail gauntlets and pulls their helmet off. And there's a dark-skinned woman. Her hair is cut very close, and she has a couple of scars on her face that look like maybe claw marks or something. One of her eyes is a little milky, like it's been scarred, some damage has happened to it, but she looks at everyone. And she looks over at the table and nods to Vedi. Helvetica, I see that you've met some new friends. And Vedi stands up, and she's smiling, but everyone can do a insight check if you would.
Insight.
Nice. Yeah, together you're pretty sure that even though she's smiling, Vedi is definitely kind of gone on the defensive, and she stands up and moves over here. Pascal, good to see you again. It's always a pleasure. What do you do, Lilith?
You know, I'm holding on to my card. I'm looking at this woman. You know, I'm just gonna straight out ask her, or talk to her. We're new to town. We're trying to find our way out. We're not even sure how we got here. And can you help us? I'm gonna see if she'll help first.
Why don't you make a persuasion check? And while Lilith is doing that, Dizzy, what are you doing?
Can I make like an insight check to kind of see like what their intentions are? Or...
Sure, absolutely. Nice. So as you're looking, this person's definitely on. They're being very wary as far as you all are going. There's something more to their presence than just like checking in. And you notice another guard walks up and stands behind her. This one is facing inward, whereas the other four are facing outward. They all definitely seem to be ready. Like there's definitely physical preparation to draw their swords and stuff. Like their hands are lingering near the hilts of their swords, their eyes are darting around. As far as Pascal goes, she has her hand rested on the pommel of her sword, but she isn't quite as tense as the others. Does that answer your question?
Oh yeah, it
okay,
does.
Sorry.
Alright, I am also gonna kind of rest my hand like on the hilt of my rapier, just kind of, in case things go south.
Are you sitting or do you stand up?
I stand up.
Okay. And you notice that Lyra doesn't stand up, but she was sitting like with one leg over the bench and one leg on the other side, and now she's like turned around and she's not necessarily crouching, but she is like put her feet in a way that she can like move quickly, and her hands are resting on both of her daggers. Twiggy, what are you doing?
Well, I'm below the table, so I'm kind of looking at kind of ankles, I'm sure, through the underneath. But I'm gonna, I think, while they're distracted, kind of scoot a bit under the table.
Okay.
Of course, with my beer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like instead of like a barrel as a disguise, you could cut out leg holes in the bottom of a mug and just have that be your disguise and just stand up and move along.
Yeah. Like Solid Snake, right?
Right.
With the box. Yep. Just gonna scoot under there.
Okay.
I mean, I'm too neon to really get out of sight, but they're looking upwards. Their eyes are up here, it's fine.
Okay. So Lilith, You kind of wait
Well-
for a moment as your request sets in, and Pascal takes a step forward. Her hands are like, she takes her gauntlets and is like kind of tapping them in her open palm, which is not currently. She took it off of her sword. She steps in. So how long have you been here?
So Lilith is going to cast Twilight Sanctuary over herself
Okay.
and stand up really tall and look very like majestic, very as majestic as she possibly can, and kind of wave her hand and just say, "We are new and wandered here through the mist, and we would like to ask some questions," and then leave it at that and just kind of look down.
So is that an ability from your class or is it a spell? I can never remember. Sorry.
It is an ability from my class.
Okay.
And with that, I can still. It says you can end one effect causing it to be charmed or frightened.
Okay.
So potentially, I could charm her. I think maybe.
It sounds like you end an effect. I should just look at your character sheet. That's what I should do. While I'm looking at this character sheet, Twiggy, you've noticed that this person, you're not really sure because they're still wearing their helmet down, moves in and looks like they're kind of moving around to flank Lilith. Still haven't drawn weapons, and Lyra's definitely keeping an eye on them. The four guards outside haven't moved yet, though. You're not sure if this person is moving offensively or defensively. Is there anything that you'd like to do, either of you?
I'm saving something just in case it must. We haven't had a rest, right? We're still
Correct.
recovering from. Correct. Yeah, I'm saving. I've got a Hail Mary just in case we need to intercede.
Okay.
At least to put it in a distraction.
And Dizzy, anything that you want to do?
I think I'm gonna like step forward and just kind of tighten the grip on my rapier.
Okay.
So I'll just move about there.
All right, for you Twilight clerics, just as a clarification, whenever a creature, including you, ends its turn in your area of effect, you can grant the creature one of the benefits of effects. You can grant them temporary hit points, or you can end an effect. So you can either end its charmed or end its frightened. So you don't feel like you could charm her with it, but it does create this like purple light that kind of spills out of you or out from your area, which
I just want to make it seem like we're pretty grand.
Yeah.
And that they take us very seriously. Since we're so grand, all of us.
So when that happens, she stops like tapping her gauntlets against her hands, and her eyes kind of narrow and look at you and look down at the card in your hand. And although she doesn't rest her hand on the pommel of her sword again, this person does draw their sword. And the sound of that causes these two to step in, and they turn and they draw their swords. Pascal says, so you're a witch, are you?
No way. I wish.
Oh, you wish that you were a witch.
We're
So
from.
we had some complaints that a group that has just arrived cursed our fish. That the fish in the river are showing up floating, just dead and rotten.
That's
You wouldn't know
ridiculous.
anything about this, would you?
Why would we ever want to do that? We like to eat fish.
Why do witches want to do something like that?
Just gonna laugh. Fish are delicious. We were trying to find dinner, so why would we want to harm any of the fish that you guys catch? That's ridiculous. I'm just gonna laugh.
So as
Real
Lilith
black.
is trying to like diffuse the situation, Dizzy and Twiggy and Lyra all notice, and Lilith, you see this, but everyone sees that the guards are moving in. All of them have drawn their swords except for Pascal. I'm actually going to put a name tag on Pascal just in case.
I don't think we can see the nameplates, can we?
I don't know if you'll be able to, but it helps me. Yay.
Could you put a red dot or
Oh, sure.
a gold dot or something on them, just
So-
so we can?
So I'm assuming you
Mark
can't see
later.
this person's name tag?
No.
Okay. Well, that's
White bolt.
silly.
I'm gonna call her out and say, I see that your friends are looking to engage in battle with us.
Oh,
I
no,
think-
we're not here to
Silly.
fight with you. We're just going to take you in, make sure that everything is on the up and up.
Well, we have questions because we would like to continue on our adventure.
I'm sure
And
you
laugh.
would. I'm sure you would. Unfortunately, witchcraft is banned here, and we can't have you walking around messing with what little food we have.
I told you, I didn't do anything to your food, and there's no way that I'm a witch. That's laughable. But, I mean, if you want to be ridiculous, we can go ahead and talk to your superior. That's fine.
Vetty has moved over here. She looks like she's kind of potentially moving to intercept this fellow. Although she's just like, her hands are empty and she has him out. And oh, Pascal, you know that we're just conversing. Everything's fine. There are no witches here. Everything's. I'm sure that this fine lady's emanations are perfectly explainable. It's perhaps it's sunlight reflecting off of, you know, a gas cloud or something. As Betty's trying to help, these fellows are moving in. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm just gonna say, you can stop moving. I don't like how you're advancing on us, and you say you're not here to fight, but your actions prove otherwise. And I'm just gonna pull my rapier out just
Okay.
to show them like that I'm being serious.
This fellow glances over at Pascal and is like, he just kind of looks at her, and she looks back and nods, and he continues over here. We're not going to fight you unless you cause us a reason to.
Well, I guess I'll end Twilight Sanctuary temporarily and pull out my mace and just kind of like raise an eyebrow and say that if there's an engagement, it's because you guys started it, and all we wanted to do was ask some questions. So you should really think about that.
Do another persuasion check.
I feel like Dizzy should be doing this.
Amazing. What kind of questions do you have for us? She takes a step forward.
Well, first of all, we have no idea where we are, what kind of town this is. The mist is super bizarre. We got lost in the mist, and all of a sudden we're here. We're trying to get out of here, and we want to know how. And why is there so much mist everywhere? What have you guys done to create the mist? I'm going to accuse them of doing the mist.
Gotcha. So she glances around at everyone. She's like, so what was it you were holding when we came in? Can I see that again?
Well, this was given to me by my mother. She said that... I'm distracted.
No
She
worries.
said it would calm me down, just to remind me of her. And I realized that it's of a swimming guy, but it does calm me down because it's of my mother.
Do you show Pascal the card? Oh, babies and their baby doing stuff.
I don't show the card.
Okay. I'm gonna roll something for you if that's all right. Do. So, as she's discussing all this, Lilith, you notice one of her hand kind of like drifts down by her side, and she's also wearing this kind of tabard over some armor, and you catch sight of these manacles as she's pulling them out. And so when she goes to slap them on the wrist that's closest to her, you just jerk your hand back. And we'll go ahead and say roll initiative from there. Make sure you're clicking on your token.
Clicking token.
Oh, and I need to grab Lyra. Oh, poor Lyra.
She's still mad about the whole
Right?
clothing ordeal.
So Lyra gets a... She has a +4 dex though, so that's not bad. All right. Got everybody set up. So Dizzy, you see this happen. What do you do?
I'm gonna just move over here. And I'm just gonna hold my action.
Okay. What will your held action be?
Just swinging at this person if they do anything.
Gotcha. Oh, Helvetica, what happened to your sheet? Ah! That's annoying. All right, is Helvetica on there now? Excellent. And as you're doing that, Helvetica steps up to this fellow, and her hands are empty, and she's just like, "It's so good to see you again, friend." And she leans in for a hug. But unfortunately, the guy steps back, and it's just like, "Betty, get away from me. I know what you're doing." And that should bring us to Lilith, who's busy. So,
Oh, we can figure something out here.
so
Let's see.
this manacle goes swiping past your wrist just as you pull it out of the way, and the woman just kind of frowns at you. Her face, like, it doesn't become angry, but she's definitely irritated. What do you do?
Sure. Um, I'm just gonna pull my mace. Like I've got my mace, but I'm going to kind of lift it up and again arch my eyebrow and look at her and say, if I were a witch, would I just be holding my mace? And again, we just have some questions. I think you need to think about that. We are strangers and you're not very welcome. I want to talk to your superior.
Okay.
And hold my action to swing at her real hard.
If she attacks or if she...
If she, leans into attack.
Okay. Sounds good. Lyra is done with this shit. And she is gonna run over here, jump up on this, and she's just gonna attack this guy. Do you think that's... I feel like that's what Lyra would do. Does anyone have a differing opinion? I hate making decisions for player characters.
She's had a long day.
She has.
And I think she's sick of it. Probably. She's just sick of it.
So she's going to get a +6 to this roll. Come on, be nice. Alright, that's being a pain. Oh, 24, and then she get a +4 to this one. Oh, 21. So she takes 2 swipes at this guy. What do you think? Is she doing damage, or is she just trying to, like, bludgeon this person with her daggers to make him go to sleep?
She's feisty. I feel like what she does well.
Okay. So she runs up, jumps up on this thing, flips her daggers, and rather than like jabbing them both into his neck, she jabs the hilts into his neck and just like crushes those nerves right there. He like kind of spasms and falls to the ground unconscious. What did we say unconscious was? This one? That looks like unconscious. That brings us to Twiggy's turn. Twiggy, what are you doing?
Alright, so there's already somebody down. Still not entirely sure what's happening. I'm hearing all of this, but I'm seeing a lot of ankles.
Yeah, you can definitely see ankles moving around. An armored fellow just hit the ground over here. That's pretty obvious to you.
Alright, I'm gonna flit out above Lilith.
Demon!
I don't think you guys understand what will fall upon you and your town if you lay a hand on us. Do you know who I am? Glitter.
Do you want to glitter intimidate these people? Is that what you're doing?
Yeah.
All right, go for it.
I'm gonna glitterate them.
Oh, glitterate.
Oh, glitterate. Oh, gliterated.
13. Okay. All right. Hang on.
Do I have advantage because I'm on fairy?
I don't think that's how that works.
What if it's their natural fear?
I mean, aren't you a barbarian?
Yeah, I am.
Do you have anything with that?
No, not with intimidation. No. I don't know if barbarians are all that particularly intimidating by the nature.
All right. So this one is the one that shouted demon, and all of them kind of look. They look shaken. Like, even though you can't see their faces, their body language has changed, where they're like all of a sudden way more defensive towards you than anyone else. Dizzy, the one next to you is holding their sword defensively towards Twiggy, and every so often like glances at you to see what you're doing, but is not being offensive to you. Anything else there, Twiggy?
I am incredibly powerful. Glitter. Yeah.
All right. So on their turn, this one's going to run. This one backs out. This one backs out with him. This one looks a little torn. Everyone that's facing him can see that they're eyeing the one who's been downed, and then he just turns and runs out. He actually dashed. This one dashed. Unless, Dizzy, were you going to take any attacks of opportunity?
No.
Okay. That's essentially where they end up. Pascal looks at Twiggy. Her eyes are like they're definitely wider than they were. Like she's like, what the fuck is that? And she looks at everyone and notices that her fellow guards have run away. She holds up her hands. If you'll allow me to take my man with me, we'll leave you be.
Absolutely not. You have been invited for a drink, and you cannot refuse the Fae.
She's going to take a step back.
You cannot refuse!
Lilith, are you going to do anything? She steps out of your threat range.
No, I'm not gonna.
Okay.
But I do want to
I can barely hear you, sorry.
just because you guys are devils doesn't mean that we need to attack you immediately. So whatever you think we are, you really need to think about your meeting new people. This is a very unfriendly town so far. Join us for a drink. It's kind of mandatory because we have questions.
Kind of mandatory.
You've made a deal.
I'm going to roll another persuasion for you. Let's see. Whoop. Whoop. And you get plus persuasion. Plus 1, 11. She's just kind of eyeing you. You can actually tell like a little bit of sweat has begun to form on her forehead. She looks very nervous about the demon flying over your head. And if no one attacks her, she does draw her sword as she walks away, but she's backing out of the room. And we'll essentially go there.
Wrong choice.
Helvetica looks down at the fellow who got owned by Lyra and just picks him up with one hand and kind of like looks at him and will walk him this way. Actually, she'll stop there and drop him there. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm just gonna watch all of this unfold. It's really not much for me to do.
Okay. Do you want to dodge or take any held actions?
No, I'm fine.
Okay. Lilith.
I don't think they're gonna let us off the hook that easily. So I'm gonna motion for everybody to we need to go somewhere else.
Okay.
Quickly.
So are you gonna let them go and then try and figure out a place to go?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
We will step out of initiative then. Clear. Excellent. All right. So as they flee down the street, you can hear the clanging of the one that went this way as they're like running off, and the rest of them pick up their fellow and head off this way. Helvetica turns around and she's just like, I'm sorry. It's not every day they see newcomers, let alone newcomers that look like, well, anything besides themselves, really. And magic is not unheard of here, but it's pretty frowned upon. We should probably go if that's what you wanted to do.
Well, clearly they've heard of me, so I still have a beer to finish, and I mean, she did refuse an invitation. Probably wise up, once the curse starts.
Lyra jumps down and comes over here and is just kind of hanging out next to Lilith. Twiggy, what are you doing? Or sorry, Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm gonna move over there and just, I guess, try to figure out what we're gonna do next.
Okay. Helvetica says, so, I mean, they've seen me with you. I don't know if they'll check, but I have a place you could probably stay. You could potentially hide there, but if they think that you're with me and they really, really want to look through my place, then it's possible they might find you. But the invitation's open.
Or we go talk to their nobles. Just go straight up to the front door. Kick it in.
Sure.
Introduce
I mean-
ourselves.
Huh. I mean, that's an option, definitely.
Are there any other friendly people like you around this town?
Well, I mean, there's no one like me in this town, but there are friendly people here. There's a lot of superstition, and did you? I mean, I don't think you did, but did you see anything that maybe explains the dead fish?
Did we see anything?
Nope, not at all.
No.
I don't even think we were looking, so.
Mm-mm.
Maybe we should check it out just to see if we can help.
Okay.
Should we help them, though?
They seem like assholes. Maybe we should talk to the nobles first, and then offer our help as a gesture of kindness, or not. I don't know.
It's up to you guys.
She was a jerk, so I'm not hugely into helping her. But if there's nice people that are starving, I care about that.
What do you all think? Lyra's just like, I could give two shits.
Sure.
I just want to find my way out of here, so...
Yeah. Let's, what if we check out some of the boundary and see how far we can get? What do you guys think about that? Just see if we can hightail it out and maybe check the river at the same time?
I'm fine with that.
Okay. So,
Run away.
I am gonna push a map for you guys to see. Essentially... Oh, I can't ping maps. That sucks. You headed into the north end. You went around, and you are... Do you see where it shows the river in the center?
Yeah.
You are currently on that, like, on a street that goes off of the river, but you're not very far in off the north. So it would be really easy for you to just walk back up the river, and go out and around that way. You could go back to the direction you came, essentially, or you could try and figure out a way across the river and go the other way around the town.
What's the direction that we would get the least?
Bless
Excuse me. Thank you. The least eyes.
Probably the direction you came from, because it's the shortest distance. Otherwise, you have to walk through the bulk of the town.
Sure. I think we should do that. We should check that out.
Okay. So as you head out, you notice, like, there's a lot of people that have kind of gathered and are watching the front. And as you walk out, they're like, oh, and they begin conversing with one another very awkwardly. And you notice from the direction you came, up on one of those fishing stands, are the two guys who were shouting at you on whether you wanted to sell your parakeet to them so they could make very bright lures for the fish. And they're very much watching you and kind of scowling.
I'll scowl back.
Yeah, I think I want to look directly at them and take an extra couple of steps toward them and point out their bad attitudes.
As you step forward, like, they take a couple steps back and turn back towards the river, and begin casting again, and kind of like looking over their shoulder every so often.
I say, what would your mother say? And then turn around and continue on.
Wait, hold on. Wait 1 second. Hold on. Let's not. These are fishermen, right? They're doing fishing things.
Yeah, we could ask them.
Hey!
Twiggy! Shh.
The bird's talking to us.
I'll walk up to them and say, we heard that something's going on with the fish.
As you get closer, it's actually pretty obvious there are, like, dead fish that have been pulled out of the water that are kind of around those fishing stands closest to you. The fishing decks, I guess, they're bigger than just like a little ladder with a platform. It's like a fairly large platform. And there are some people that are like, they have fairly long poles with hooks, and it looks like they're dragging more in. So you definitely see what they're talking about.
Sure.
And
I want to ask them, what kind of sickness is this?
why don't you tell us? You're the ones who did it.
You're ridiculous, and you really should listen to your mother more often. We're asking you a question. What is the sickness that they have?
My mother told me about witches and the curses that they bring.
Well, don't be dumb. We're asking you a question.
I don't know what kind of sickness this is, but these fish are already rotting. What did you do to them?
Start. How long ago did you start? And you're still being dumb. You should stop asking stupid questions.
This happened right after you walked into town.
Wow, we just barely walked in, so all of a sudden all these fish just died within a matter of 30 minutes? That's weird.
That is weird.
Mm-hmm. So I heard that there is like an industry. Are they pumping out poison to the fish?
No. Why would they do that?
'Cause usually they do that. Again, are you dumb? Come on now, give us real answers.
And like where you are, you can see that large plume of smog, and it essentially comes from the east side of the, like, southeast side of town, and just drifts off northwest. So it's kind of covering where you are. It's not like down low where you are, but there is like a kind of a grossness to the air that you noticed before.
Sure.
So you get the feeling that's that's potentially a thing, like some kind of poison that's either been pumped into, or like as the smog has like gone over, somehow fell into the water. It's possible. But they're like, no, why would anyone do that?
Yeah, I'm disgusted by this guy, and I'm like, look, you guys live in filth, like absolute filth. Smell yourself. Disgusting.
Smell your
How
health.
do you possibly consider yourself a clean peoples? This is gross. Are there better people than you around that we can ask these questions to?
We make do with what we have. It's not our fault that the mist closed off and left us alone.
I might want to talk to your mother.
Oh, rest her soul.
So
Get
the
out of here.
fact-
Be gone.
The factory dust killed your mother too? That's a bummer. We should go.
Take
And
your strange talking bird and get out of here.
Bird.
I'm gonna turn around and try and pat him on the head and say, "It's not your fault. You're this dumb. I'm
So
sorry."
they're like elevated, and you've like been shouting up at them.
Yeah.
But you can mock him verbally. That's totally fine.
Okay. I absolutely want to mock this person.
So a lot of the people like around are kind of keeping an eye on you all, but no one is like moved in aggressively or anything. A lot of them just seem wary, a little afraid of you. What would you like to do?
Strut.
Like you're walking in the air while you're fluttering along.
Glitter. 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 Yeah. Have a good look, boys. That's right. Yeah. You all know who I am. That's right.
Lyra sheathes her daggers, which she's had in her hands since this conversation stopped. She makes a obscene gesture at the fellows and then follows Lilith. Dizzy, what are you doing?
I'm gonna look at Lilith and just say, "Are you sure you want to help these people? Like, I don't see any benefit. They're not very kind, and if this is what they have to show us, then I don't think it's worth it."
I feel like it's not their fault that they're this dumb. But if we can figure out what happened while we're on our way out of town, I won't mind helping. But if we get out of town and we don't need to help, I'm okay with that too. They're a bunch of jerks.
Well, if we do help them, we should definitely make sure that we make it worth our while.
What do you propose?
Free room and board, free food, free drinks.
Alright.
So as this conversation's happening, Vedi walks out of the bar or the tavern and runs over to you guys, like catches up. Sorry, I have to get to class, but if you need anything, just head over to Blackchapel. That's the neighborhood that's west, and she points that way from where we are now. It is a maze over there. I can't really give you directions to the school, but the schoolhouse, if you just ask anyone for the schoolhouse, it's the only one there is, so everyone kind of knows where it is. Just if you need me, just let me know.
See, they only have one schoolhouse. Of course everybody is uneducated here. Come on.
Yeah, it's something that, I instituted a few years back because no one's learning anything unless you're noble, and then you get private tutors, and so I'm hoping that some of these kids can be a positive change for the future.
Aw, kids. Guys, should we teach a lesson to the kids at the school before we go?
Yes. 100%.
If we can prevent them from becoming like the rest of them, then perhaps.
Yes.
Could teach them the proper rights of hospitality, because clearly this town is all getting cursed. All right? All of them getting cursed because they don't understand the simple basic rules of hospitality. The Fae arrive, you give them cake, okay? That is how the rules work. I don't write the rules. That's the rules.
Vedi's just kind of staring at you. Where are you from?
The Feywild?
All over.
The Feywild. I don't understand that word.
Feywild. Wild Fae, Feywild. Wild and Fae.
Yeah, where I come from, fairies are like very violent carnivorous creatures
Oh yeah, we are.
that don't talk.
Oh, well, they
Weird.
probably just don't have anything to say.
That could be.
Hmm?
If I ever get home, I'll have to find out.
All right, that's it. We need to teach the children. We need to at least do one lesson plan. We should follow you and give one lesson plan.
Do you want to be guest speakers at the school?
Yes, we do.
Well, that would be fabulous. I mean, we better go then, because, like, the handful of kids that are allowed to go will probably be there soon.
Better be cake.
There's not so much cake, because you need, certain ingredients that we can't really grow here in abundance. But I do have some wonderful smoked fish.
I mean, if you just say it's cake, I mean, it's kind of the same thing. It's a language thing.
Oh, okay. So what I have is some wonderful fish-shaped cake.
Ah, yes. You will save the village yet.
She smiles, and begins leading you off towards Blackchapel.
Okay with that.
Okay. So, is there anything along the way that you're looking for or want to do?
Is there any little living, like, bugs or, I don't know, like little mini creatures?
Every so often you'll notice, like, cockroaches or, like, there are cats that you will see, like, either lounging around or chasing for something, so maybe there's that sign that there are mice somewhere. Make a perception check. And I will click to a point where I can see your perception check. Okay. So yeah, that's pretty much what you notice. You don't notice anything that the cats are chasing or anything else. So you've seen some bugs and some cats.
Okay. I'm gonna continue on.
Okay. Dizzy, is there anything you want to look for?
Not particularly.
Okay. And Twiggy?
I'm going to be strutting, glittering, and doing it near Lyra. And trying to get Lyra to, do the little dance, the little strut. Oh, dun, dun, dun.
She keeps glaring at you, and like every so often she brushes some glitter off of her shoulder. Make a perception check.
Perfect. Very good at those.
Nice. So every so often, when you kind of glance away, you'll like peek with your eyes while your face is turned away, and you see her do a little strut. But then as soon as you turn back, she's like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So Vetty leads you through this area, and off to the south you can see this very large tower. It has a like a clock face in it, and this area is fairly well, like there are streets that are well laid out. You feel like it would be pretty easy to remember how to get back to the way you went. But then you pass into this, like you go through an area that has some larger buildings that are shops, inns, taverns. A lot of the people in them are just like drinking, eating what looks like fish with some measly sides of vegetables. And after you exit that area that has these larger buildings, you realize that the streets have just become this chaotic mess. There are like streets that go off at angles. There are alleys that just go off a little bit and end. There's no rhyme or reason that you can really see. And the street itself here, whereas they were cobbled in the area previously, it looks like this was cobbled at one time, but like no one has been repairing it. So essentially, like, the stones are loose or they're completely missing. Dirt covers large areas, and Vedi, like, takes a deep breath. He's like, home. You do notice that even though it's, like, not great over here, the air is a little fresher, as that, like, smog cloud is more to the northeast from you than it was. So even though this area looks a little more run down and less cared for, the air here is a little easier to breathe. And she leads you through several strange mazes of streets and finally comes to what looks like it used to be an old chapel. But it is very worn down. The windows are missing. There's like a bell tower on it that has no bell. And the front door has a door that's closed and then another door that is like closed and leaning slightly sideways. So it doesn't actually close, it's just like blocking the entrance as opposed to closing it off. And Helvetica walks up and she looks up and down the street and kind of looks a little disappointed and like rights the door slightly and opens it and heads inside.
Follow.
Okay.
Yeah, follow.
So as you follow in, you notice that the meager light from outside manages to push its way in. There are some windows on the side of the building that are stained glass, which, again, it's like perhaps the only color that you've seen here besides Helvetica. But the colors of the stained glass are muted and kind of faded, and it looks like they you're not really sure what they depict. There are some people in them that have various scepters or some kind of holy trinkets, some censers that they're swinging, but you're not really sure who these people are or anything about it. And it looks like the inside of this room, it looks like there's essentially a fairly large room after you get in that front entrance that has some pews that have been pushed off to the side, and the podium has been like drugged down and is in the center of the room now.
Right, well, I think it's our time. It is our time. Twiggy, Dizzy, we're going to teach the children.
So what are we going to teach them exactly?
We're going to teach them about cleanliness. We're going to teach them about caring for one another and community. And we're going to teach them about smog and dangers of smog.
And the rights of hospitality.
And hospitality, clearly.
Mm-hmm.
Twiggy, I think you should teach them about pride in self. How to take pride in their own being and their land, their families, and their friends, and how we take care of that, like taking baths, washing stuff, fixing
beer.
Things.
Beer. Not making beer.
Yes, making beer.
Yes. Because I could use another one.
Helvetica like walks up to the podium in the middle, and like it looks like she's looking down at a large book, and she just kind of sighs and closes it. She's like, well, in order for you to teach anyone, they have to show up.
That's a bummer. Where are the children? What are they doing?
I mean, I'll tell you, a lot of the parents don't see the point in getting an education because there's not a lot of jobs locally that really call for any such thing, unless it's like an apprenticeship, and then they just do that with the craftsman in question. They don't really feel the need to send their kids to school, and the few that I've convinced to let their kids come, they might be worried for their kids' safety today.
something happen.
I mean, there's always something in this town, but you know, there's been a couple of people that have disappeared. One of them ended up being found floating in the river. Not doing the backstroke.
That's it. The river is poison. The river is absolute poison. It's
They probably
poison.
killed the fish.
Mhm. Yep.
With their BO. Lilith, you and your baths will save the city.
I mean, do we figure out what's going on with this river? I mean, maybe we'll be able to see how to get out of here if we can get some of the smog taken care of.
Well, smog's not coming from the river, is it?
No, but there's definitely smog coming from one of those factories.
We'll just go over there and be like, stop it.
I mean, maybe.
That usually works, right? You're like, hey, you there, stop it. And they're like, oh, okay.
I mean, we could burn it to the ground.
We could.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Vetty kind of laughs. While I applaud your effort, it may be difficult because a lot of the factories are made of stone. So unless you have do you have a way to burn stone?
Yes.
Well, in that case, you might be successful. But
I mean,
I will tell you
always
that trying to convince them to stop with the industry it's going to be difficult. Like a lot of especially when it started, a lot of the people who lived here didn't want that kind of stuff here because it just, I mean, obviously you've seen the sky, but in the years since then, like they just, it's like the only thing that has any kind of economy going.
But does it only serve the town?
That's what I said.
Well, I mean, industry usually means like stuff going from point A to point B, like the turkey from the farm going to my table. That's industry.
Right?
And so, like, how many turkeys are they making for tables? And how many tables are here that they need turkeys
I mean,
from that place?
They pump things out all day and all night. I'll be honest, I haven't figured out where the bulk of it goes, because sure, they make, you know, things like tiles for your roof and, you know, stones for the street and, you know, various different things that the town needs, but there's a much bigger amount of things that are coming out of there than I can figure where it's going.
Say we stop it,
Well,
and then
we
we
can find
get out
out.
of town.
Well, that's the trick. Maybe they know how to get out since they're doing turkeys to other people's tables, but not here.
Yep. Let's go find out.
Mhm.
Dizzy? Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
So, as this conversation has been going on, Lyra's just kind of been hanging out and like throwing her dagger at the floor, pulling it back out, throwing her dagger at the floor, pulling it back out. And then all of a sudden, like, you hear it stop. And as you look around, you notice that she's like looking at the door. Vetty, I think your students are here. And like, you glance over and you see a couple of kids kind of peeking around the door. And then they lean back. And then like another will peek around the door and disappear. And Helvetica goes walking that direction and peers out. You know, it's a lot easier to learn when you're inside the school. And you hear very hushedly, but there's strangers in there. And they've got like a weird creature with them or something. It's okay. It's all right. They're friends of mine. They're friends of yours? Wow. And like a couple of them creep out from around the corner and are looking at you all. What do you do?
do we have money? Do I have money?
I mean, you should have money.
Yeah, I wanna give a coin to each one of the kids, and say that it's because I'm impressed that their minds are ready to learn.
What kind of
And
coin
I'm
do you
gonna
give them?
I'm gonna give them like a little silver coin,
Okay.
whatever the prettiest one is.
Yeah, silvers. I mean, gold can be pretty, but silvers are like the shiniest.
Hmm.
So you give them, and they're just like their eyes widen, and they begin like hushedly talking with themselves about how much food they will buy with this stuff, and like maybe they can find a place that has sweets. And Helvetica is just kind of watching, and she's like, "This is Lilith. She and her friends are going to be guest speakers today at the school." And they're like, "Really?" And they all like rush in and find seats.
We bribed the children. It works. It works.
Come learn, we will
over.
pay you.
Yes. Awesome. Well, we'll file in quickly to do just a quick TED talk. Each one of us will do kind of a quick TED talk.
Okay.
Lovely children.
What is your TED talk or your Lilith talk in this situation? What is yours about, Lilith?
I really enjoy forests and trees and plants, and my TED talk is going to be about pollution and how it hurts not only us, it hurts our animals and our plants. And so if we want to survive better, we have to respect our earth a little bit better and do things that are cleaner. That's what my TED talk is going to be about.
Okay. So while you're having this conversation, like a lot of the kids look, or while you're expressing this, a lot of the kids look confused. And Helvetica goes over and picks up that book that she closed, and she opens it up and leaves through it. And then she sits down next to you and like begins like going to certain pages as you talk. And they're like, "Oh," and you kind of glance down, and she's like pointing at trees, and you get the feeling that these kids have never seen trees.
Okay.
Like they know what plants are, but like even that is kind of like a little weird.
Okay.
And
I'm
I
going to
will-
describe that it seems to me that possibly the industry has done such damage that they do not know what these plants are, but maybe their grandparents or their parents might remember the taste of a juicy apple, or to pick a beautiful flower or something along those lines.
Like, what's an apple? What's a flower? And Betty will go through and find pictures that are like hand drawn in this book.
Okay.
Dizzy, what is your Dizzy talk about?
It's gonna be about like art and music and stuff like that.
Okay. What do you explain about music?
Just about how you can express like stories and adventures through music and so on and so forth.
Do you play any for them?
Oh yeah, I'll play something for them.
Nice. So as you do so, like they're very interested, and they're like, "Wow, I never heard such. I don't even know what the word is. Such music like that. That it makes me feel not as sad as the music that they play here." And Twiggy, what's your Twiggy talk about?
It's probably a long-winded and unfocused rant about the expectations the Fae have when they come into your town. There are rules, rights of hospitality. If I invite you for a drink, you better sit down for a drink or you'll be cursed. And here's the other ways you get cursed if you cross paths with the Fae. And then they could take your name, and then you won't even know who you are, and then you lose all of this time, and then you have like 15 babies, and yeah, then the sky sometimes turns purple with the wrath of Titiana, and
like throughout this, there are times that the kids go from like super into it to super terrified to like super terrified, and
Then the
then,
unicorns let you ride their back.
and then they look really interested, and then they look terrified some more. So after Twiggy's done, she's like, "It's okay," or sorry, Lyra's like, "It's okay. I'll teach you how to defend yourself. If everyone just come up here and you just stand, okay, get in like lines. Yep. Okay. Good job. Good job. Now you're gonna stand like this. Okay. Now hit each other." What do you mean you were told not to hit each other? Oh, she
Lilith
doesn't.
is gonna immediately come over and say, "How about we learn how to protect ourselves without hurting each other, Lyra? Can we do that? Like, can we
Okay.
pretend
Yeah.
and we can go through the motion without making contact?"
Yeah. Yeah. I can do that. Okay. So to defend yourself. Okay. So go ahead and try to hit one another. And then,
But don't.
don't, and then you just grab their arm, you twist it like this, and you stab them under their armpit, and then you just wrench it forward. They will never mess with you. Why are you crying? Why are you? And Helvetica's just like standing in the background, and she just like pinches the bridge of her nose. I know I'm going to get calls from parents tomorrow. So as the TED Talks wrap up and you're deciding what to do, and Helvetica is chatting with the kids about what a wonderful day that they got to experience with all of these wonderful guests, we will go ahead and wrap up for this week. But I am super excited to see how the rise of the anti-industrial movement will go next week here in Peridon.
Yes.
So thanks everybody for joining us, and we will see you next week, same time, 2:30 Eastern, 2:30 p.m. Eastern here on Twitch at WH Publications. If you're watching us on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and get notified for whenever we upload new videos, and we will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye everybody.
Waving a lot.